All right, welcome into Bet the Edge, the college football takeover for Week 14, presented by BetMGM. I'm Brad Thomas here with Eric Froton and Vaughn Dalzell, and just like every week prior, we've had absolute chaos in college football. More ranked teams went down. The college football playoff rankings are announced, and there's a couple teams that slid in, look like they're going to be safe for the playoffs. Tennessee, Indiana looks safe. Clemson has a chance to play their way in. A couple on the outside looking in, guys who lost, Alabama, Mississippi. But look, don't look now. Tulane has a chance to maybe play their way in if the chips fall the right way. Okay, guys, let's talk about the college football playoffs real quick. Let's say biggest takeaways from last week, any newcomers or anybody who you think is just too far down the rankings that can't make it in that deserves to be in. We'll start with you, Vaughn.
Man, tough question, Brad. I, as an Alabama watcher last week, I could not believe what I was seeing. So I know that, my favorite quote of this week was the guy that called in from the radio show. Don't know if you saw it, but he said, being a Bama fan last year with Nick Saban was like going to bed with Beyonce, and then waking up the next morning this year is like Whoopi Goldberg. And I said, oh no, Bama fans have lost it, Brad. They are going derailing. So I think they still have a shot. I do think they still have a shot because chaos can still happen here. I think that, getting Miami and SMU in here kind of become unlikely. I think only one of those teams are getting in. So I still think one of the SEC schools will get in here. But I'm happy that Indiana is saved. All the chaos saved them. What say you, Eric?
Yeah, you're right. Absolutely. Indiana came out smelling good. And we talked about it last week where we were really questioning, all right, well, if it gets bad, what does this do to Indiana? And with the exception of that garbage time touchdown, it was not a particularly close game all game long against Ohio State. Just from bell to bell, they handled business. But look, the overall, like you said, chaos factor that we saw last week has protected Indiana without a doubt. As far as Alabama, I think they have a legit shot. There's a lot of matchups that could break in their favor. They could still definitely get in with 3 losses. I don't think that's something we really envisioned before the season.
Yeah, obviously disappointed at the Alabama game. It's, the Whoopi Goldberg quote is funny. I do think that people need to pump their brakes a little bit on DeBoer, right? Like, you have to imagine that this is an Alabama team that they have one style of play offensively, and if a team takes that away, they're toast, right? And we've seen it now 3 times so far this season. And unfortunately for him, he didn't get to pick his quarterback, right? Like, Jalen Milroe does what Jalen Milroe does well. Does that fit DeBoer's style or system? I don't think so. But I mean, not scoring a touchdown against Oklahoma is pretty bad. They did have one taken away, wrongly taken away there. So, but you know what? If they get in, great. If not, I will at least hopefully see them in the Cheez-It Bowl here in Orlando. So at least something to be excited about. Let's talk about the Heisman. I think Ashton Jeanty is getting shafted, guys. Travis Hunter team loses another game. He did score 2 touchdowns, but he's minus 1,000 to win the Heisman. I've seen every ESPN fan vote, and it's been like 60-25 in favor of Jeanty. Is Hunter just the lock right now? There's no possible way for Jeanty to come up.
Yes, I think he is a lock. That's obviously accounts for the minus 1,000. And with Jeanty, he got banged up a little bit last game. They've been riding him hard and putting him away wet. And even though obviously he's been sensational, we've seen him up there around 200 yards for his player prop, sort of a listing. That is astronomical. It's the highest I've ever seen in my life. And it's almost to the point with Jeanty where the hype is just getting so outsized for a G5 running back. I don't think there's any way that he's going to take over Travis Hunter with some of the highlights we've seen him put up so far this year. This is the last time we'll get to do it this regular season. So yes. I have my 100-to-1 ticket on Travis Hunter, and I cannot wait to go to that pay window on it.
Yeah, I think that's going in your pocket, Eric. I think it's all but a lock at this point. I mean, Travis Hunter, we've seen other players like him that are generational that can play both sides of the football, but we haven't seen a guy in the past decade that's done it to the capacity that he's done it, I think. And obviously being on Deion Sanders' rebuilding team has done wonders for the media coverage of Travis Hunter. Ashton Jeanty isn't getting that type of media coverage up there in Boise State. So that also helps him too, I think. But, I would never justify at this point, Brad, putting $100 or anything like that on Jeanty to win the Heisman at this point. But if you want some lunch money on it, sure, why not? I think there's a lot better bets in the college football playoff market with 2 or 3 weeks to go to bet those teams to get in rather than betting on Jeanty to win the Heisman.
Yeah, I'm being offered $200 cash out on my half unit bet for Jeanty Heisman. So 4-1. I'm probably going to take it before the game start. I have another ticket. If he miraculously wins, I'll still cash the 30-1. Won't cash the 60-1. But I also have Travis Hunter, so I'm not like hurting. Like that's the only reason I've ridden it this far. I probably would have cashed out a while ago. Let's get into the games. Oh, the Iron Bowl. Auburn at number 13, Alabama. The Crimson Tide are an 11.5-point favorite. Total set at 52.5. Wow, it's a night game. I was really shocked that we get a night game in Bryant-Denny after the performances that Alabama's put on. I'll start this off, and I have 2 bets in this game. The first one, guys, listen, this is not some big brain activity that I have on Mr. Ryan Williams over 57.5 receiving yards. This is only narrative based. Defender for Auburn talking about Ryan Williams not good at football, pretty much talking all this trash, all this nonsense. And then Jalen Milroe responded to that and said, Ryan Williams is a bigger star than I am. I think there's going to be some deep shots to Ryan Williams taken. And we've seen this Auburn defense at times get stretched. We saw it last week. That's just more of the fun play, right? Like the narrative base. But my actual play, Jalen Milroe, over 48.5 rushing yards. How many times do we have to see this happen? Alabama just force feed the ball to Milroe. That is their game. Zero confidence in the running backs. And it's been a pattern now for about 5 weeks where there's so little confidence that they'd rather run the ball with Ryan Williams on some kind of toss out wide than run it through the gut with their 2 running backs. I thought they were going to get Richard Young involved last game. Didn't happen. Milroe ran the ball in the first 2 drives. It was the first 3 drives. He ran the ball 9 times. I think he's going to get a little bit more separation. We saw Marcel Reed get last game against Texas A&M, get some separation as well, be able to run some big chunk plays. This is could be Milroe's last regular season Alabama game at home. I think he's going to put on a show with his legs. He has opportunity to put on a show with his arm too. Weather should be good as well. So I think they're going to toss it up. Eric, what do you got?
Yeah, well, there was no show last week from Mr. Milroe and his arm. Okay, Brad. So let's stop pretending that this is just a lock with Mr. Milroe. Gosh, Oklahoma completely embarrassed them last week. That being said, this is Auburn, and Auburn went and had a 4 overtime, 43-41 complete. I mean, one of the wildest games. I'd say the wildest game of the weekend. I mean, wow.
Yeah, agreed.
That game just didn't stop producing. I wish I was at Jordan-Hare Stadium instead of at the Arkansas game earlier this year, but I digress. That being said, to go with Brad, I am also on the Jalen Milroe over rushing yards, and we will get to the ladders section of the show where I will kind of elaborate on it a little bit further, but I'm also going to take the under on Jam Miller. I mean, Jam Miller has been a profound disappointment. We didn't know coming into the season it's going to be Justice Haynes, it's going to be Jam Miller. It ended up kind of being a split, but with Miller, man, I mean, he still is being listed at 49.5 rushing yards, despite the fact that he has not cleared 49.5 rushing yards since September 14th against Wisconsin, which was a 42-10 blow. It's just an absolute thrashing. But he hasn't done that at all in SEC play. He went for 45 last week against Oklahoma, 24 against Mercer, even 38 against LSU, 48 against Missouri. He's living in those 40s, but until he literally hits that 50 mark, he just hasn't done it. Against Auburn, I expect to see more Milroe, which I will get to a little bit later on in the show, which does kind of depreciate my Jam Miller, sort of prognostication. But look, it's week 14. We have been riding Jam Miller on this show all year. He's been very good to us on these unders. One more for the kids, under 49.5 rushing yards for Jam.
I like it. You guys are talking me into a lot of different options here in this game. I feel like with Alabama's back against the wall, Brad, it's now the opportunity to sprinkle the ladders on Milroe, Ryan Williams, the touchdown props. I mean, you're getting still, plus 150 to plus 300 money on Milroe to score 2 touchdowns. I feel like this guy's been automatic when it comes to scoring this year. But the one thing that's really stood out to me in this game, which I don't really understand, but the first quarter bets haven't been good for me this year. Alabama minus 2.5 in the first quarter. Why wouldn't that hit, Brad? Why is Alabama not going to come out scripted in this game on the first 2 drives and get a touchdown? Why would Alabama not play defense in this game when we see a total of 52.5 and we know this is a rivalry game? So I really expect Alabama to come out and do something. 2.5, I feel like, is a good number here. But can you play devil's advocate for a second and tell me if Auburn is a play? Oh, I'm sorry. And we have an apology for you. Meg McDonald, remember her?
Yeah.
She told me yesterday live on air to apologize to you because you were right about Auburn last week and she was dead wrong. So.
Oh, yeah. I was. Wow. Oh, my God. I totally forgot about that. I said I don't root for Auburn often, right? And the one time I did, that's hilarious. No, Alabama's hard. It's hard to be pro-Alabama because of the injuries that are piling up on the defensive end. Q Robinson down. Lawson went down last week. You have Lawson's your quarterback to the defense. We are, Keelan Sabb is already out. There's just so much that it's just like it's a rivalry game. These two teams play each other tough. But one thing can be said, Vaughn, to give you a little pro.
Okay.
Alabama hasn't played poorly at home. It's only been on the road where they've struggled mightily. So, I mean, we own Auburn and Bryant-Denny Stadium. That's just pretty much a given.
Right, I heard Nick Saban say that there's ghosts in that place. That he thinks
he was
it's
talking about
haunted.
Jordan Hare. He's talking about Jordan Hare.
Oh yeah, right. That's right.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we hate going to Jordan Hare.
It's the Bryant-Denny, the Jordan Hare. I'm sorry, I was thinking I was on Auburn.
No, you're good. You're good. Let's move over to the next game. Number 15, South Carolina at number 12, Clemson. The Tigers are 2.5-point favorite. Total set at 49.5. Noon kickoff. I'll start things off. I talked about this off air. I really want to take Rocket Sanders 70 plus. That's a little juice. I think you have to go up a little higher to 73.5. That's minus 115. I mean, he's been getting the carries. And if there's a weakness that you want to exploit on this Clemson team, it's going to be the run game, right? It's 45th in rush D success versus 13th in drop back D success. It's the offense for South Carolina. But if I want to talk about the game from a game perspective, I do lean South Carolina plus the 2.5. The number was a little bit larger earlier in the week. And for me, it just sets up stylistically for South Carolina to kind of make some changes happen in the game, like those freak situations, big sacks for losses or interceptions or fumbles, because they have two of the best bookends in college football. That's where they hang their hats, is getting pressure on the quarterback. And we're going to have Clemson. They're going to throw the ball. That's their offense. 12th in rush rate over expected. Throwing the ball so freaking much. We haven't seen much of Phil Maffa. I thought it would be a good Phil Maffa day, but it's just hard to trust him when he's not getting the volume. So I end up passing on this game, but I do lean South Carolina.
I like them too. I know when we did our filming the other day, Brad, I was like, we might have a roast beef bet here on the show. I might take Clemson. Once I looked into it more and more, I dislike the Tigers more and more. I think that South Carolina pass rush is probably going to get to them in this game. They've been streaking, and I think they've been competitive in every game this year. The only road loss was at Alabama for South Carolina. And when you look at Clemson in their biggest games this year, really let us down against Pitt, obviously, on this show. I was really disappointed to not cover that spread. But against Georgia, Louisville, and Pitt, 24, 21, and 3 points in those games. They went 1-2. They didn't look comfortable. At the end of the games, they really struggled. I think South Carolina could win this game. And I think they're worth a money line play here, too. You don't even need the points. So, I think we're going to see some chaos ensue. I thought Clemson was going to be one of the best bets to make the college football playoff, but as we get closer this time, I'm trending the other direction. So I like that. Lean the under. I think it's going to be competitive, a really good game, one of the best games of the week. What say you, Eric?
Yeah, well, as you mentioned with South Carolina, Lenora Sellers, we haven't talked about a little bit. He's been incredible over the course of the second half of the season. It was his first season starting, true sophomore, a 4-star, highly touted dual threat quarterback, and had some growing pains over the course of the first half. But man, last 5 games, he has really come of age. Mizzou throws for 353. Ran for 106 against Texas A&M, which is a pretty good benchmark for what we'll kind of get to little bit later. But when it comes to Clemson, what they do well is restrict your ability to complete passes. But what they don't do well is they give up big plays. The magnitude of the successful plays they give up is, frankly, it's anything. It's unlike any Clemson defense I've seen in the past 5 years. Averaging 11.6 yards per successful rush. That ranks 124th in the country. It kind of plays to what you were talking about, Brad, with Raheem Sanders. The second half of his season since he came back from injury has been incredible. He's been over 100, I think, 3 of the last 4. But with Sellers, I think you could see him run as well and be able to take advantage of this Clemson defense. I think that his 45.5 rushing yards is something that I'll be taking a look at. But my favorite play in the game, an official, Nick Harbor, wide receiver / tight end / 240-pound sprinter. He's in the 4.3 range at 240, has a 99 speed rating in the video game that everybody's been playing since this summer. He's finally come of age. Over the past 3 games, had 43, 69, and 48 yards. As a true sophomore, him and Sellers really shown a chemistry. And I think that with the profile of this Clemson defense, 80th in marginal explosiveness passing, I think you're going to see Harbor go and have a nice day. And he's only at 35.5 receiving yards. I think he clears that.
I actually see him at 32.5 at some point.
Oh, 32.5. Give me 32.
It sounds like you like South Carolina in general, Eric. You think they win this game?
I kind of like it. I don't know. I can't help it. I watched them the last couple of games in terms of preparing for this, and I've liked how their offense is looking. They're humming right now. And obviously that defensive front between Kyle Kennard and Dylan Stewart. I mean, we're talking about an elite front that has just been destroying every offensive line they've come up against. So I'm curious to see how Clemson can handle an SEC upper echelon defensive line in that pass rush.
Especially considering this game is at noon too, which benefits South Carolina a lot in this game rather than being 7:30 at night. So I love this for the Gamecocks.
The interesting scenario will be Alabama blows on Auburn, South Carolina wins. What does the committee do? Because South Carolina's looked really impressive. Alabama's kind of stumbled to the finish line.
Alabama beat South Carolina.
Yep. Mm-hmm. They have the head-to-head.
I can't get past that. Like they beat them. I know it was earlier in the season, but those games matter too.
Yes, those games do matter. Let's move to the next game. Number 3, Texas, the renewed rivalry, 5.5-point favorite at Texas A&M. Total set at 48.5. Is a 12 o'clock kick. I lean Texas minus 5.5. It was a big effort by Texas A&M, right? Like Mike Elko went on his press conference and said he's not overlooking Auburn, and that's exactly what they did. They dug a hole early for them. For me, I think that with Le'Veon Moss out for Texas A&M, that really hinders them a lot more than people expected. Daniels did okay, right? He ran for 95 yards. It's not like he had or 85 yards. It's not like he had a slouch game, but it's just a different run. Like he's volume, not getting those big chunks. Texas, that's probably their weakness as well, is against the run. But if you can't successfully run, it doesn't matter if that's their weakness. I just think Texas is the better team. I think Marcel Reed gets kind of shut down here a little bit. Let's just highlighting the Texas numbers. Each EPA margin, 6 offense, 2nd on defense, 28 defensive success rate, 21st on offense. What I really like about this team, and it's about checking these small little boxes. Net points per drive on defense, first in the country is Texas. Yes, they have had some layups, I'd say, some of the teams that they've played, who aren't very good at completing successful drives. Man, I'm really excited for this game. I wish Texas A&M would have won last week, so this would have been a playoff eliminator, SEC championship eliminator. I think it still is, right? Like if Texas A&M wins, I think they still get into the SEC championship. But man, what a game! I just could not get all the way to 5.5 here. I do think they do cover, but go ahead, Eric, break this one down.
Yeah, with Texas A&M, what they've done, it's funny. Their profile is really similar to Clemson in terms of they're very good on a down-to-down basis, 19th in rushing success rate. However, 116th in successful rush, average successful rush allowed. 115th in passing explosiveness allowed, but 13th in passing success rate. So they don't give it up very often, but when they break, the levee comes down and the entire town is flooded. Last game against Auburn gave up 301 passing yards to Peyton Thorne. Against South Carolina, 244, with them running for 286. They gave up 530 total yards against South Carolina in their previous SEC game. And then you go to LSU, the game before that. This is our last 3 SEC games. They give up 405 passing yards to LSU. We haven't seen Ewers. In fact, I've taken Ewers as under the past few weeks in terms of passing yardage because they've just been juicing it up in the 280, 290s, almost 300 range. And that's simply not what they've been doing. But against A&M, everything is telling me that they should be attacking this secondary over the top, which means Isaiah Bond. And we haven't seen Bond really have to do much the past few weeks. We got hurt for a little while, had a 44-yard rushing touchdown against Florida. But I think his skill set just dovetails perfectly with what Texas A&M does not do well. And I think you see him catch a long one. We don't have a ladder on Bond yet, but we do have a regular, line on him that is at the 45.5 yard mark. I think he goes over that. And I'm always a little bit nervous about being too overladen with my plays, but man, I got a few wide receiver overs here, and I think it's time for Bond, and I'll be looking at, when it does come out, his ladder plays. 47.5 receiving yards over Isaiah Bond.
Great news too. I know there's a storm coming through, but it should be gone by Friday, which is sick. That great football weather post-storm, calm after the storm.
Yeah, I was wondering about that actually, because the totals for this game have been moving a little bit.
Yeah.
And maybe that's the reason why. 2 of the highest scoring first quarter teams in the country this year. Top 25, both teams. Total sitting at 9.5. First half's 24.5, which is usually a good bet to the under. Makes me curious, man, what this start for A&M is going to be like. I mean, they got out to they were trailing 14-0 last week. Now they're back at home. Big game, back against the wall. I mean, this is how you get into the college football playoff right here. So part of me wants to take A&M in the first quarter, plus the 1.5. This is some insurance in case Texas does score and A&M has to score. But honestly, guys, everything's telling me that Texas is going to win this game. A&M chances went out the window last week. They're going to feel the pressure. I don't know. It's too much. It's too much pressure to put a pick out on the show, Brad. I can't do it, man. I see you got them in your people's parlay. I feel like it's the right side, but I feel like something funky is going to happen, man. I might have to rock with A&M here.
I mean, 5.5 is a massive number.
It's a lot. It's a lot for your back against the wall. Like your whole season's on the line.
Yeah, I think we see a good effort. I love the note here that our producer Tim dropped in. Last time these two teams played was in 2011. Justin Tucker, walk-off 40-yard field goal for Texas. But before we get into our ladder plays, I want you to know you could spend your Black Friday with the Big Ten on NBC and Peacock. Our triple header starts with a serving of men's basketball at 2:30 p.m. Eastern, followed by women's volleyball at 4:30. The day wraps up with Iowa football hosting Nebraska in primetime. How about that? 3 sports on the Peacock. Listen, I'll be at the sports book. Might have to check out all 3, just make some money there. Let's get into the ladder plays. Eric, kick it off with your first ladder play.
Yeah, so Oklahoma State running back Ollie Gordon, he started off slow this year in terms of the first 6 games. He only cleared 100 yards once. He only cleared 75 yards one time. But over the past 5 games, we've seen him really awaken in this Big 12 schedule. Took advantage of BYU, ran for 107. But that was 5 games ago. You look at what happened the past 2 weeks. Against TCU 2 weeks ago, 25 carries, second highest carry rate of the season, runs for 121 yards. And then last week against Texas Tech, in a 56-48 barn burner, he carries 15 times for 156 yards and 3 touchdowns. Wow. Okay, we're seeing the healthy Ollie Gordon here. I don't know if he was banged up earlier in the season or whatever the deal was, but Alan Bowman is not starting. They have clearly decided to transition the offense to him Mayaliuki. I don't know. Read that guy's name, the new quarterback. Mayaliuki Smith or something like that. They he's a young quarterback, only made his first start last week. They're clearly trusting Gordon to take a little bit of the pressure off him. At 120 plus yards, all right, for Ollie Gordon, which again, he's cleared each of the past 2 games. You're getting almost 4-1 return on your investment plus 380. I love it. Love it. I have another one. We talked about Jalen Milroe earlier.
Yes.
Jalen Milroe, our friend there. Auburn, last game, allowed 100 rushing yards to Marcel Reed. Last year, when Alabama played Auburn, as they always do, Jalen Milroe also ran for 100 yards against Auburn. He ran for 100 plus yards against LSU as well. Those are the only 2 games last year that Milroe ran for over 100 yards. Were against LSU and against Auburn. What did he do against LSU a few games ago? Johnny Manziel, baby. Johnny Manziel with that ladder play. Went over 100 yards, went 10-1 in terms of that. We're getting it again with Jalen Milroe. This is what he does. It's a pretty clear system. Kalen DeBoer saw what he did against LSU last year. He ran them ragged. He saw what he did against Auburn last year as well, and they're going to do the exact same thing. Currently, Jalen Milroe, 80-plus rushing yards is at plus 330. His 90-plus is plus 500, and his 100-plus is plus 700. He's definitely going over 80. It's just a matter of how high he goes. I love the Jalen Milroe ladder play this week.
Well, Jalen Milroe, 2+ touchdowns. Lock it in for me because it sounds like this guy is getting busy. All the hype this week on him. All right, I'm betting into it then. But yeah, I was like I said earlier in the show, I think it's time to be creative in this game for Alabama. You know, Jalen Milroe's 2+ touchdowns is plus 150. 3+ is probably a reach when it comes to rushing, but that's plus 550 out there. Mine was originally Travis Hunter.
Take the yard.
He got us 2 touchdowns last week, baby. He cashed that plus 270 last week with 2 touchdowns. He had his little Heisman pose and everything, which made the betting odds shoot up, but they still lost. They still have to get a big win here against Oklahoma State. They're 16.5-point favorites, and some tells me it'll be a little closer than that. So I do lean Oklahoma State plus the points in that spot. But Travis Hunter, again, I'm going to run it back. They cut his 2+ odds for a touchdown down to plus 150, and his 3+ down to 650, which was 11-1 last week. Wow. So obviously he's not done yet, folks. This could be one of the final games we see of him, if not the final game. So yeah, Travis Hunter, 2+ and 3+ touchdowns.
I'm going with the Ryan Williams here. And of course, you know, we have to back it up with a little bit of data instead of just narrative. Auburn has allowed big catches, like singular catches in almost every game they've played. Against Missouri, I believe it was Mookie Cooper. They even allowed like a 60 or 70-yard catch against Louisiana Monroe. Allowed big catches in the Texas A&M game. The bombs over the top. Alabama is going to take their shots in this game. I took him 80+ at plus 205 and 100+ at plus 400.
Like that.
Any more ladders before we move to the next segment?
You want to talk about Travion, Eric?
I'm going to go with Travion Henderson. We've seen him in terms of yards per carry. He's leading the country right now, and or at least the Power 4. Yeah, he's taken over Isaac Brown. He got banged up for Louisville, but he was number 1. Travion's number 2. He just took him over after last game. But he's got for over 60 yards just about every single game. He's listed at 45.5. I just think that's too low. But if you look at his 80+ yard mark, that's plus 390. You're getting 4-1 return on the investment at 80+ yards. Look, he's the home runner hitter here. Quinshon Judkins is the manipulator between the tackles. Crafty, but man, when you want the home run, it's Travion Henderson. And if you listen to Ryan Day and what he said about Michigan, he said one of the worst things that's ever happened to him in his entire life is losing to Michigan. He was impassioned about it when he was talking about it in an interview. And just hearing that and seeing the passion in his voice, he wants to annihilate this Wolverines team. He is not happy about them losing to him over the past couple of years. So I think you're going to see Ohio State empty the clip. And if that means Travion Henderson goes 80+ for plus 390, 4-1, give it to me.
It's going to be a good game.
He's
Go
got some
ahead, Vaughn.
enticing props too. No, I was going to say he has some enticing props. I mean, if you're looking at the touchdown market for him, which I have up right now, I mean, 2+ for him is plus 500. I think that's very attainable in a game where you're speaking to that nature. It just,
I know you got Judkins there though, who's kind of
Will
does
Howard.
the vulture deal. That's the only thing about the touchdowns. But yeah, 5-1. I think they're not going to stop scoring.
One thing that I find funny about that game, which we're going to speak of in a second here, is Will Howard's passing touchdown prop. It's set at over 2.5, and the over is plus 190, unders minus 260. That's what they're offering us this week. And I mean, that's an insane thing to be offering the public.
I like that.
Yeah. Do you think that we'll save it. We'll save. We see a lot of passing touchdowns, but I want you to think about that.
Well, speaking of the game, Michigan traveling to the shoe, taking on number 2 Ohio State, 21-point favorite. Total set at 43.5. It is another noon kickoff. I believe that makes it 7 in a row for the Buckeyes there. This is a game where two teams hate each other. So much so, if you go around Columbus, anywhere there is an M, they cross it out with a red X. One of the best rivalries. It's been heating up recently, but now the game, like I said, played in Columbus. I think Michigan is in for a shellacking. The look-ahead line or game of the week line at the beginning of the season was 10. They thought Ohio State was 10 points better. Now it's moved up to 21. We haven't seen Michigan do anything well, right? Where you have an Ohio State team who they look like the real deal national championship contender. Jeremiah Smith, we should have talked about this when we talked about the Alabama game, but let's talk about it now. Jeremiah Smith and Ryan Williams didn't get any benefit of the doubt and being the the Belindikoff finalists. They said, no, you guys are too young. We're going to put Hunter McMillan and the guy from San Jose State as
Nash had one catch last game and he still gets in the Belindikoff, but I mean, I get it. He's getting,
I get it, right? But yeah, I think Ohio State really wants this game, and spooky things happen in this game, but not this week. I think they destroy them here. This is a really good team. They're going to get pressure on the quarterback. What I liked about Ohio State, what I saw last week, is there was no sense of panic, right? Indiana marched down the field, and then Ohio State said, okay, your scripted drive is out of the way. Now we're going to show you how to play real football. And then Ryan Day, ruthless at the end, right? That Ryan Day, I think, is going to be ruthless for the rest of the season because he knows he has to get his boys in shape to have that killer mentality when they meet up against Oregon. I think Ohio State blows out, but I just couldn't get down with the 21.5 just because how funky this game is. Vaughn, any angles that you like?
Yeah, I mean, Ohio State's definitely going to try and beat the brakes off them, but in the third quarter, fourth quarter, it's more of just hold them steady, be the number 1 team in the country like you already are in second half points per game, and limit what Michigan's going to do, get out there healthy, and get ready for the Big Ten championship. So I think the live bet second half, once again, for Ohio State could be a smacker, man. But when I looked at the first quarter, first half, everything seemed pro-Ohio State from the market's perspective, but nothing that I think is sharp numbers. The first half, Brad, 16.5 of the team total of Ohio State, I think it's a little too much. I mean, I think if we were getting a 13.5 here, I'd be all involved, or 12.5. But at 16.5, that's something that I'd be willing to take an under on if you're getting plus 150 or better. But that's the only way I could back Michigan in the spot. Like, nothing here tells me, as someone who went to this game last year and watched this in at Michigan, I have no way of thinking this is going to be a close game. And Eric had a tweet this week showing the 9.5s out to 20.5s on Twitter from some sportsbooks offering this line. And no one knows what to do with this game because they want Michigan to be competitive, but Michigan is not 3 touchdowns within Ohio State. Ohio State, I think, is the best team in the country. They're not a team of destiny like Michigan was last year, but I think they're the best team in the country, and they show that against Michigan this week.
I like it. In terms of my stuff, we already heard about Trevion. It's just he hasn't cleared this line exactly one time. They get him at 45.5 rushing yards. One time all season. He hasn't cleared that mark, and it was against Nebraska. He only had 4 carries. Otherwise, he's getting 11 carries a game, and he's doing it. He hit 87 against Oregon, which is the best team they've played all season, so they lean on him in the important moments. Like, you have to take his over 45.5 rushing yards. I don't have to belabor that point anymore, but Will Howard, quarterback for Ohio State, look, he isn't running the ball, and they listed him at 14.5 rushing yards. He's cleared that twice all season against Power 4 opponents. He did it game 1 against Akron. I'm going to throw that out the window.
Yeah,
but
please do.
He's cleared it twice. Once was against Iowa, he had 28. Other was against Penn State, he had 24. But You have -1 against Indiana, 0 against Northwestern, and 7 against Purdue in the past 3 games. I just don't see it happening with something that just happens so rarely. I don't think it's going to be an issue. I don't think he needs to. And maybe he gets sacked a couple times, which then takes this completely off the board. I got to lean on the under 14.5 rushing yards on Will Howard. We cashed it last week.
Love that.
See if we can cash it again.
Yeah.
Under Will Howard rushing yards. Next game, number 5, Notre Dame, 7.5-point favorite against USC. The Trojans here needing, I'll talk about it in a second. Let's get to the total 51.5 before I jump the gun here. The Trojans, if you talk to anybody from that camp, like this is going to be their Super Bowl. Not liking Notre Dame, a chance to spoil or at least try to spoil their playoff hopes as a 7-point dog. I'm not buying it. I don't care. I took Notre Dame. I got them at -7. I took Notre Dame team total first half over 14. Some of those numbers are still available there too. Listen, it's a legit Notre Dame team. 7 straight covers, scoring 14 plus in those games, outscoring their opponents. Only once has the opponent gone over the 14 mark in their win streak, and that was against Louisville. Yeah, it was against Louisville, and it was a game that was, probably not the best Tyler Shuck game, but he put the team on the back to at least make it competitive. I don't think Jaden Maeva is going to be having that success. And, what I noticed about this USC team, I thought it would change from Moss to Maeva, is they start not taking shots down the field. A lot of completions underneath. And I don't think that's how you're going to beat Notre Dame, just because their secondary is so good, their defensive line so good, that you have to have those change of pace plays that kind of break up the game, break up the rhythm of the defense. And I don't see it. Notre Dame defensive success rate, number 1 in the country to the drop back, right? EPA margin, 4th on defense there. Riley Leonard has 30 touchdowns, maybe 27 touchdowns, 14 of them coming on the ground. He's playing well. I think we touched on it slightly last week, where Jeremiah Love, although he's not getting the volume, is having those big game-changing runs. And I think he has the same kind of success against USC. I'm big on Notre Dame. Vaughn, are you joining the Notre Dame train, or are you like, Brad, you're nuts?
As soon as you said it, I had to say, into the mic, because I'm hyped. Notre Dame first half team total. It's been the tank that we've talked about for the last few weeks. They've scored 14 or more first half points in every game since the NIU loss. I don't think USC's defense is the one to stop it. I do think it's going to be a competitive game, stay within 2 touchdowns. But, I have to be pro Notre Dame. Everything you've seen from them since that loss, they've really turned their season around. Riley Leonard has even stretched the field a few times. They've been impressive, man. So Notre Dame is a team that I can't wait to fade in the college football playoff. But right now, I like them.
Yeah, there's a reason why you can't wait to fade them. It's because they haven't played anybody.
Yes.
Yes. Ooh, they beat A&M week 1. Cool. All right, 23-13, acceptable. But since week 1, best team they played, probably Louisville, and they escaped with a 7-point win where they threw for 264 yards. Georgia Tech threw for 269, but the last 4 games, Army, Virginia, Florida State, Navy. Give me a break. I can't even cap a passing game based on those 4 teams. I know. You give me anything on it. There's nothing I can bench it off. So what I'm going to do is I've been kicking this around. Notre Dame, exceptional secondary. They are missing Benjamin Morrison, who is their best cornerback. But with USC, I think they will be down. I do think that Notre Dame will be in control of this game, which means USC is going to have to throw. And the last game against UCLA, which I was in attendance for, and note to our producer, Tim, who said that this should always be a night game. Let me tell you, no. Because I went to USC on Saturday night. Let me tell you, at 8 o'clock start time, I got home at 2:30 a.m. So, Tim,
because of the traffic.
Tim, respectfully, no, just because it's late. And getting out of Pasadena, there's only 2 ways into Pasadena. 2 2-lane roads, and then everybody leaves at the same time, 60,000 people, and you got 2 2-lane roads to get out. It takes forever to get out of Pasadena after a game. So the point is, no night game. But with Notre Dame, I think they'll be up. And with USC against UCLA, they were passing a lot in the first half. Mav had 171 yards passing at the end of the first half. They were down. And then USC took the lead in the third quarter. And they basically didn't throw the ball again for the entire rest of the time because they didn't believe that UCLA could move the ball off them. Yep. So they just ran Woody Marks the entire time. Mayava barely threw the ball in the second half. That's not going to be the case here. Notre Dame is going to be able to score. They're going to be able to impose their will, and it's going to be a chase situation for USC. I'm seeing Makai Lemon at 40.5 receiving yards. That is way too low. I mean, I understand the efficacy of this secondary, but man, Makai's smoking this line. In terms of 5 of the last 6 games, they've crushed it. Only once against Nebraska did he not. But I mean, he isn't just beating 40. He's beating 65 every one of those games. He's at 70 or more each of those 5 games. I just think this is way too low. It's an overcorrection. Give me Makai Lemon over 40.5 receiving yards.
All right, then. Well, let's get into the next game. Washington at number 1 Oregon. The Ducks 19.5 point favorite. Total set at 50.5. This game is at 7:30 p.m. on NBC and Peacock. Going into this game, we already know the Huskies have won this matchup 3 straight times against the Ducks. There's no Michael Penix this time, no Kalen DeBoer, no Jalen Polk, no Jalen McMillan, no team that's absolutely stacked. But I actually think the advantage here is for Washington in terms of ending the season strong. Oregon is already in the Big Ten. They're coming off a bye. This could be a sleepy start for the Ducks. I lean Washington here. The best thing they do is their pass defense, 32nd in pass D success. They're 39th in EPA per drop back on defense. And I just think that Oregon's just going to want to get through this game, be healthy. They're going to have Jordan James a ton of the carries, and then they're going to bring in, oh my goodness, Whittington to just clean it up and finish it off. 20 just seems like a lot because it's not like early in the season where when Oregon was playing teams and they had the advantage, Dan Lanning put his foot on their throat. You started to see it where he was like, we don't need to blow teams out. We need to be healthy because all it matters is we have extra games because we're going to play in the Big Ten championship. Then we're going to have to go through a playoff cycle, not just, show up and win. We have to be healthy to win. And I think that Washington presents a pretty good problem here. Pretty good problem for covering for the Ducks. I think the Huskies cover. We'll see if I really trust Will Rogers, but I lean it right now. Vaughn, do you have any leans? Am I crazy? Actually, I need to know, am I crazy? Because the line moved from 18.5 to 19.5.
No, I think that the money should probably come in on Washington, to be honest with you. I mean, the Oregon Ducks played probably their worst game of the season last week against Wisconsin. I mean, they needed 10 points in the fourth quarter to come back and win that game. Dylan Gabriel, first game of the season, he did not throw a touchdown pass. First game in 2 years, he didn't do that. So I definitely think there are some issues with Oregon, and it's probably just because the pressure has mounted on them now to this point. Huskies are a team that I don't think is going to quit here. My best bet in this game was Oregon's team total under 36.5. I feel like that was too high. I mean, getting 5 touchdowns on Washington here is not something I think the Ducks are going to do. Getting 4, perhaps, but then you're going to need some extra field goals and more possessions here. And we talk about this every week with a couple of teams, Ohio State, Penn State, and Oregon. Second halves continue to cash. It is 5-1 in the last 6 weeks. The game that it went over was Maryland. And Brad, we joked about because Maryland basically was like, here, just keep scoring on us, giving the ball over and over in the fourth quarter. So Oregon's had 20, 30 yards to score. Situation where Oregon just wants to be healthy, like you said, Brad. Big Ten championship on the way. They believe the number 1 team in the country. I believe Ohio State's number 1 team in the country. We're going to see who's right next week. But I think Washington is primed here to cover. I think the under is in play, especially for Oregon's team total at 36.5.
Possibly.
Well,
possibly.
Eric,
I don't know.
Do you have anything for this game?
Yeah, well, with Washington, you got to remember they got Iowa hung 40 on them.
Yep.
Indiana put up 31. Penn State put up 35. Against the better teams in their schedule, they get smoked. They just get exposed. I'm concerned about how that factors in against Oregon because Washington can't stop the run. And you talked about a little bit with Jordan James, but they're 109th in rushing success rate, 100th in EPA per rush. And the Jordan James, Noah Whittington combination is going to get a lot of work. I'll be interested to see what they hang James at. There's no lines out right now in this game. I can't give you any prop angle, But I'll be very interested to see what that looks like. I'll even be interested to see what Whittington looks like as a second back. If they keep him low enough, I might be interested in taking a speculative over because I think he probably gets more carries since they want to keep James healthy.
Yeah, I figured they would hang James like 105. That's what I was.
He should be over 100. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I was searching deep and wide for that prop.
Oregon's receiver room's still a little banged up too, but I'll note
Ted's
this.
Supposed to play. We'll see. Tez Johnson. We'll see what he looks like.
Note this, Eric. Oregon in the second half since the Ohio State game have averaged 11.5 points per game in the second half. Without the Maryland game, that number is only 6.5. They are literally just sitting on the football and sitting on teams. So
it's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, you could score 28 in the first half. Just don't get more than that touchdown in the second half. Keep it going.
Yeah, and Washington's defense is so imbalanced. They have an incredible pass defense. They rank 4th in yards per dropback, 6th in passing explosiveness. But you can beat them up on the ground, and I'm sure Oregon will be happy to do it, or at least try. But that doesn't make for a 20-point win. That's a little bit of a slower script that we're looking at.
Yeah, we are. Let's go to Purdue at number 10, Indiana. Indiana coming off the loss, 28.5 point favorites. 7 p.m. Saturday game. Total set at 56.5. I went with the Hoosiers minus 28.5, and I went with their team total over 41.5. This is just blouses for Purdue. They've thrown in the towel. I feel like how can you not just get rid of everyone on that coaching staff at the end of the season? I had made a post about how Akron is bad at football, and someone said, "How can you say Akron's bad at football when Purdue exists? Akron will be going to a bowl game. Purdue will be.
Ain't that bad? Kent State, okay, fine.
Kent State's even worse. Kent State winless still. Purdue
Kent
just
State's
won.
One of the worst teams I've ever seen in my life. Last night was an abomination. That game.
Wait, I took AJ Henderson rush yards, and I was nervous because the line moved. He went for $185.
Yeah, no need to sweat that one out. No, not against Kent State.
Yeah, that was amazing. But anyway,
they pretty much felt so bad they stopped throwing the ball. They were like, we need to stop this. We'll just keep handing the ball off.
It was bad. Purdue's just such a bad team, man. The numbers aren't there defensively, offensively. They can't move the ball. They can't stop anything. They get run on. And I think Indiana's just going to continue to play their game. Kirk Cignetti, this team is a lock for the playoffs, in my opinion, as long as they don't lose this game, right? Kirk Cignetti doesn't want to go out there and have a tough fight, a dog fight against Purdue. He wants his guys to, after coming off a loss where they kind of got embarrassed, they had 50 yards of total offense in that second half. He wants his guys to go out there and play really quality football. I'm all over Indiana. I think this is just an absolute feast on Purdue. This is the fire your coach game there.
Yeah, the line's continually moving up. It's at 29.5 in some places too now. So we're going to keep seeing that cross. I mean, 31 is the next key number. So this might close at 31.5 on Saturday because let's be honest, this is going to be one of the most public teams this week too.
Oh yeah.
That's why this number keeps moving. Everybody's going to want a piece of Indiana because they know what the mindset is. And how could you not? I mean, since Indiana State, Purdue has been terrible. They've lost every single game. And you look at the first half numbers, which is something that I want to talk about here because Indiana first quarter is minus 7.5, which you might say it's outside the number. I think Indiana scores twice in the first quarter of this game. Their first half is 16.5, 3 touchdowns. That's within that. I'm taking that too. The first half team total, Brad, 23.5 for Indiana. You might say that is so high. Hold your horses. I had to stop because I said this is just too much. Purdue in the last 7 games in the first half have allowed 24, 21, 21, 17, 21, 24, and 21 points. This team's stopping nobody, and that's early in games. So Indiana's at home. They have their backs against the wall. You win this game in style, you're definitely in. So, yeah, Cignetti, go get it. I think this is a blowout all across the board.
Yeah, I'm disgusted with Purdue. They were losing 24-3 at halftime to Michigan State last week. I obviously had Hudson Card's under passing attempts. For some reason, this retread, who will not be on the team next year, is getting every single snap in Purdue's games. Not Ryan Brown. Dumb. No, we don't want to get any young guys, some experience here. No, we're just going to keep trotting out Hudson Card. Good. Get annihilated. This is the last game you will hopefully ever coach as a head coach, Mr. Oh gosh, Ryan Walters. I've had enough of you. Indiana minus 16.5 points in the first half. That's not going to be a problem at all. Yes. 17 points. Oh, they're going to be fine. They're going to be up 24-0 at halftime, like Vaughn talked about. Maybe 21.
Maybe 28.
No problem. Maybe 28. But it's going to be over 16.5 points.
Oh, yeah.
Indiana minus 16.5 first half. Take that to the bank.
Easily.
That's happening.
Easily.
That's happening.
All right, guys. Let me do this
Purdue
before we get into the people's parlay here. It's a second helping of Sunday Night Football this week. Finish your Thanksgiving holiday by watching the Dolphins take on Jordan Love and the Packers at Lambeau Field at 8 p.m. Eastern. Then wrap up your weekend with the 49ers traveling to Buffalo for a battle with Josh Allen and the Bills. Both matchups can only be seen on NBC and Peacock.
As you all know by now, we've teamed up with BetMGM this season. We'll be using BetMGM lines to make all our picks, and we'll have special offers for our listeners each week. If you haven't signed up to BetMGM yet, use bonus code BETEDGE, and you'll get up to a $1,500 first bet offer on your first wager with BetMGM. Here's how it works. Download the BetMGM app and sign up using bonus code BETEDGE. Deposit at least $10 and place your first wager on any game, and you'll receive up to $1,500 in bonus bets if your first bet loses. Just make sure you use bonus code BETEDGE when you sign up. See BetMGM.com for terms. 21 plus only. U.S. promotional offers not available in New York, Nevada, Ontario, or Puerto Rico. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Available in the U.S. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369 in New York. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP in Arizona, 1-800-327-5050 in Massachusetts, 1-800-BETS-OFF in Iowa, 1-800-981-0023 in Puerto Rico. First bet offer for new customers only, subject to eligibility requirements. Rewards are non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire in 7 days in partnership with Kansas Crossing Casino and Hotel. Don't forget, if you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, use bonus code BETEDGE and get your $1,500 first bet offer today.
The people's parlay, guys, we start off so strong. Let's get a winner here, right? I'll go with my leg first. I'm Texas money line. I talked about it a little bit. I just think this is a game where they're just overmatched against Texas A&M. Eric, what's your leg?
Yeah, I'm taking Louisville's money line. I mean, I apologize, gentlemen, but there are things I can't do. And one of those things is support this Kentucky team. They have been absolutely horrible. Brock Vandegrift, starting quarterback. I don't understand why you'd keep starting him. He went out there and just embarrassed himself against Texas. Just cannot even keep his eyes downfield in the midst of the rush. Had to go to Cutter Boley in the second half, a true freshman quarterback. I think you'll probably see Cutter Boley start, which true freshman against Louisville here. Not a good spot, especially with Louisville has been kind of humming lately. Beat Stanford, beat Clemson, beat BC. Tough game against Miami, but they're scoring. I just don't see any way that Louisville loses this game. Give me the Cardinals on the money line.
Yeah, I like that play. I'm rocking with Michigan State on the money line. Probably the scariest play of the three if you are a college football supporter. But Michigan State needs the win. They are 5-6. They got the win against Purdue last week, held them off there at the end. So they win this game against Rutgers. They are bowl eligible, and that is saving their season. Rutgers also bowl eligible. They are 6-5. Lost to Illinois last week. Somehow we have the first half cover for Rutgers, and then Eric came through with the full game money line for Illinois. So perfectly capped game there. But yeah, rolling off of that, I think Rutgers loses again this week. Michigan State gets the victory. So that is the people's parlay. Louisville money line, Texas money line, and Michigan State money line. $10 pays $47. Come on, guys. We only have a few more weeks left.
Yeah.
Let's finish this with some winners, man. I like this though.
Let's get into our best bets of the weeks, and then we'll do our additional bets. But before we leave, I'm gonna ask you guys a question, and I'm gonna tee it up right now, and I'm gonna let you think about it a little bit. Okay, so every week we've had a double-digit a road favorite lose. I just did 2-score road favorites. The games that you get to choose for, I want 1: Tennessee at Vandy, Illinois at Northwestern, Miami at Cuse, Arizona State at Arizona, Notre Dame at USC, and Florida at Florida State. We'll talk about it after our best bets. I'm giving you some time to think. Let's drop our best bets. I'll start with mine. And it's a good segue because I'm taking both of my favorite road favorites on the money line, Notre Dame and Tennessee. We talked about the Notre Dame game. It's a parlay. It pays out -133. But Tennessee versus Vandy, I think, actually matches up really well for the Volunteers to have a really successful game because Vanderbilt wants to run the ball with a lot of success, and that's where Tennessee's going to hang their hats. I think this is just a game where Tennessee, they get a second chance at life, right? They haven't really had any massive victories, but they also haven't had any really disappointing games except for the Georgia game. And that's what just like the sign of a well-coached team, a team that has really good balance. So for me, it's a money line parlay of Notre Dame and Tennessee -133.
I like that. I'm riding with Michigan State. I'm giving you 2 best bets this week because mine have been so bad the last 4 weeks. I've literally been losing on the craziest things.
So you're doubling down?
Yeah, so I'm doubling down because now that I'm so due. I am so due. I'm so due. I'm past due. Like collections are coming in. I'm past due. So I'm riding with Michigan State money line to beat Rutgers. Like I said, this is your season literally on the line at home on senior day. You go out and lose. Your entire coaching staff needs to be reevaluated there. So Michigan State on the money line. And the second one is the one that we should all be having in our best bet sections. It sounds like Indiana first half -16.5. I put a little LOL Mike McDaniels next to it, just to let you guys know. Hey, I love this one too. So those are 2 best bets, man. Let's get some winners, please. Please.
I agree. We all want winners in the best bets. And I'm going to give another one. Do you know that the Wisconsin Golden Gophers rank 108th in standard downs run rate?
Say that again.
Wait, which team?
Minnesota Golden Minnesota. Right.
You said Wisconsin Golden Gophers.
The Wisconsin Golden Gophers. Okay, good one, Eric. Minnesota is running the ball at a 51% clip on standard downs. That's 108th in the country. The average is 58%. On passing downs, running the ball only 30% of the time. That's 89th in the country. Believe it or not, we're seeing an air raid adjacent Minnesota team. I mean, I'm just as perplexed as you are, but my gosh, the number one beneficiary, if the beneficiary, has been Daniel Jackson. In 8 of the last 9 games, he's gotten at least 10 targets. He's currently listed at 5.5 receptions, something he's cleared 7 of the last 9 games. Daniel Jackson against this Wisconsin team, that's why I said Wisconsin. Against Wisconsin, where we just saw them got lit on fire by Dylan Raiola, a decidedly a true freshman who is just learning the college game, just used them as kindling last game. With a much more experienced Max Brosmer, who is slinging the ball all over the field. With Daniel Jackson, who, again, is one of the most targeted receivers in the entire FBS, is getting double-digit targets, again, just about every single game. Give me Daniel Jackson over 5.5 receptions is my best bet.
Heck yeah. All right, well, let's get into our additional bets. I have 3 of them. I don't know about you guys. I'll be quick with these. I'm taking Tulane -13.5 against Memphis. This Tulane on an absolute rampage. 35-0 Navy, 52-6 Temple, 34-3 Charlotte. I mean, even that game against North Texas on the road, 45-37. I have some notes here that I also want to kind of highlight with this team. Like, these numbers have gotten so much better. 8th in defensive success rate, 19th in EPA margin. They're against a Memphis team who, this is even though they're 9-2 team, this is a down year for them. I think Tulane has their eyes on the prize, and they're just going to continue to be successful. Mekhi Hughes' rushing total is like 125 yards, right? Like, he is going to have success in this game as well. I just don't see how Memphis is able to run the ball well. And I don't think you really want to be throwing the ball on this Tulane team, because not only are they really good in pass defense, but they're causing turnovers, making life tough, putting you in 3rd and longs. So that's my first one. Eric, do you have any additional plays?
Yeah, I like Jarquez Hunter, running back for Auburn. 13.5 receiving yards. We've seen Hunter just be his role expand week after week after week, and we knew he would be the starter kind of coming in, but the volume and the work he's got in the passing game has just been a revelation. If you look at his past 5 games, I mean, 4 targets, 2, 4, 6. He's catching 2 passes a game. He has gone over this 13.5-yard mark in 6 of his last 7 games. So with obviously Auburn having an important game against Alabama, we know what the Iron Bowl is. They will be trying everything they can to win this game. I think you see a lot of work out of Hunter, 13.5 receiving yards. I think you see at least 4 targets, and that by proxy he clears that.
It's funny. I was going to be on Hunter rushing yards, and I think the sports books were like, everyone wants to be on Hunter rushing yards and set his numbers so high.
Yeah,
like,
dude,
it's so high, you might as well just take like 90 plus.
Mm.
My next 2 bets are from the same game. Miami at Syracuse in the Dome. I'm taking both quarterbacks to throw for 325 plus passing yards. We didn't hit Cam Ward last week, even though he had 280 at halftime. Abomination. But Kyle McCord, this team, the Syracuse team's not that good. They're good enough, right, to be competitive, good enough to where they're not going to give up either. Even if they go down deep, they're still throwing the ball. They were at one point in the top 5 in passing pass frequency. They just lit out. They're 6th now. They're throwing the ball a ton. They're one of the leaders, which is crazy, in 20-yard passes and EPA margin, which is insane to think about. Syracuse now has their quarterback, the old Ohio State transfer. And then Miami, they are in the top 10 as well in passing per drive. So I like this to be a shootout. I think the total's 2 set in the 60 as well. We got an indoor game. Any more bets that you guys have?
Well, I definitely wanted to answer your question here in a second, Brad. But one team that I don't know if you mentioned in that question was Arizona versus Arizona State.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of like Arizona in this spot, man. It's a rivalry game. You get to ruin Arizona State's season right here. We're on the cusp of getting the Big 12 championship. Like plus 250 for that money line. It's a pretty good price. So yeah, I'm gonna slip that one in here. And last week, my people's parlay, I bragged about having 5 straight winners in that department. Loses. Colorado loses to Kansas. Kansas Jayhawks breaks history. First team to win 3 ranked games in a row with a losing record. Totally insane. They're only a 1.5 point favorite at Baylor, and they're 5-6. This game gets them into a bowl game.
Ooh.
This speaks like a trap line to me. Are you like? Give me Baylor. So I'm still mad about last week. I'm betting on emotion, but I'm gonna play Baylor on Saturday too.
Eric, any more bets? Or you can answer my question on a double digit or 2 score road favorite who has a chance to get upset this week.
Geez, I don't have any more bets. It's early. We're recording obviously today, a lot earlier than we usually do. So unfortunately, the market isn't completely developed. But I'll hop on with Vaughn, and we'll see if Teteroa McMillan and Noah Fifita can pull out some magic over there in Arizona.
Yeah,
Arizona is actually mine as well, and my other one is Miami Cuse. I have 3 actually. Anybody who's watching this, I'm gonna put this
Miami
out.
Cuse is a good one.
Put it out.
I'm doing some sicko bet this week. I'm parlaying Cuse, Arizona, and FSU on the spread, and then I'm round robining all of their money lines. So all I need to do is hit 2 out of the 3.
Did you say FSU?
Yeah, Florida.
Man. You
Florida
are wild.
State versus Florida
at home. This is their Super Bowl, their chance to come with something. Florida's coming in swinging off a big letdown, just for a couple like sandwich dollars.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'll throw $5 on it, man. Until I'm just, who did Florida State play last week? Because it doesn't even matter. It was the FCS.
They played like some FCS school.
I literally took the other team's money line in the first quarter. Like I literally played that team first quarter, full game money line, and all of it lost. But that's how much confidence I have in Florida State. So yeah, good luck.
This is gonna be fun, guys. Listen. First I want to say, happy Thanksgiving, everybody listening. Happy Thanksgiving, you guys. I'm thankful for you and thankful for all the viewers. Don't forget to check out NBCSports.com for more information to help you with your wagers. Thanks to those of you watching us on our NBC Sports YouTube channel. If you're listening to us in podcast form, don't forget to subscribe and rate us. Also, a reminder to find all of your favorite NBC Sports shows on Amazon Music. Just head to amazon.com/NBC Sports. For Eric Froton and Vaughn Dalzell, I'm Brad Thomas. Roll Tide.